All right, I think this should be good to go.
We all set?
Whenever you want to.
All right. All right, we'll call the Estacada Traffic and Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Berezinski?
Here.
Commissioner Dolzall?
Yep.
Commissioner Owens?
Here.
Commissioner Dobbs?
Here.
Commissioner Litke?
Here.
Commissioner Parson? Absent. And Chair Moriarty.
Present.
Okay. Have a quorum.
All right, excellent. And let's see, moving on to community comments. Do we have anything online or?
We have nobody online.
Man, I told people to show up.
I know you did. I didn't see your post, sorry.
Oh. Well,
Okay, before moving forward, I wanted to just, I went back, watched the first couple of meetings just a little bit. And I just wanted to make sure that we are following Robert's Rules of Order. So if someone does have a question, can you just raise your hand? I'm trying to mirror what the city council does and all the committees. And so everybody's going by the same page, and I think it'll go faster. Because I know the first couple of meetings, we had so much going on, and I appreciate the eagerness and everyone, you know, the energy in here is amazing. So I just wanted to say that at the beginning. So again, Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone had a Merry Christmas. Thanks for all showing up here. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the November 2022 meeting minutes?
I'm.
Do I get a first and a second? All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Woody, everyone was in? Okay.
Mhm.
Motion passes. All right, here we go. Here's the big home run one here. Presentations and reports. Main Street Design Test Run. I guess we'll write a bunch of stuff down here. Melanie, take our notes and we'll just
Yeah.
put it together over the weekend, and we'll present Monday night.
Yeah, whatever your recommendations would be as a group to the city council.
Okay,
Did you want to look at any of the photos? Are you all familiar with that?
can we do that? And we're gonna need more than 3 minutes Monday night, just so you know.
Yeah.
Well, give you a few minutes. But yeah, if we can like summarize it.
That's fine.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily, you don't have to explain yourself as to why you think that.
Right.
Just say this is what we've come to the conclusion of.
Yep.
But yeah. let's do it.
We'll say we recommend a lot. That's all. There it is.
Not to share my screen. I don't want to share that. Hold on. Oh my. It should show all my screens, right?
Typically it only shows, it doesn't show different windows. It would show screens, and you only have a single screen there.
Done this before. We pull it.
There it is.
There you go. It's sharing your screen.
Actually, that was just because I minimized. So let me, if I put that up. I want to share it. So so the recording can see.
Okay,
Or I just-
that's okay.
Well, you guys can see it.
Yes,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Okay, want me to, which one? I don't know how to move. Oh, there we go. All right, want me
There we
to
go.
progress the slides, just let me know.
Okay,
This is why I don't do the detail.
that's okay. So we're gonna go with no bump outs.
Yep.
Everybody agreement with that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Casey, this is, I know you're seeing this for the first time, but you're seeing every intersection
Right.
here and all the parking there. Kerry measured out, what was it, 20 feet from the,
On each side out of the center.
Right.
It's a 40-foot width call.
and you can see that's just Fourth and Main coming up. Chapman's on your right. Look at how far you would have to make a right-hand turn going up Main with the bump outs out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we will stress that it's a farm community, a major avenue of travel, not Broadway. We're going to keep Broadway on Broadway.
Right, right.
So Jim,
Yes.
the other side where the Soul Tapatia, that
Mhm.
restaurant, is that bumped out already? And so if it is, are they going to redo the whole thing or are they going to leave some existing?
I think I think we bumped that out.
Well, I know we did to the specifications of the design, but isn't it kind of bumped already?
I don't
I
think
that's
so.
a
The
corner.
plans had a bump out where the empty lot is. And then they wanted two bump outs on either side of the one parking spot in front of Soul
Because it
Tapatio.
looks like it's bumped right there.
Well, that's the empty lot and that's the fourth.
And that's what I'm talking about is that corner,
Oh, yeah,
getting
that's,
rid of that bump out.
oh, yes.
Oh,
So and that's what I'm asking. So they're going to.
Oh, to get rid of that?
I don't
Correct.
know if they're gonna do that.
I'm not sure. I don't know how would, let's see, how
Yeah,
would
that's
we
a
ask
good
that?
call.
That's a good question there.
Yeah.
Put it both out like that and then maybe.
Well, it's just I think what he's saying about the bump out is that ADA ramp or I guess bump out comes all the way into the crosswalk, extends into the crosswalk. I don't know. We can definitely ask. I mean,
Because that's the one that my neighbors are hitting already, is that.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
do.
right.
I hit that from time to time with my Ram, not so much my wife's car, but definitely with the. Yeah, and I think we're also going to propose or recommend a four-way stop here
Right.
with 4 sidewalks and lights and bells and whistles here. Because that's pretty much, so maybe that would take care of it
Yeah.
in that proposal. What does everyone think of that with the 4-way stop, adding 2 more stop signs?
I like it.
Is everyone okay with that?
And crosswalks,
Yeah.
is that what?
And
said?
crosswalks. Well, and I think if you see in these, not all the crosswalks are the same. They're,
Mhm.
you see it all over Estacada. Some are solid line
Mhm.
and some have the dots, I call them, like up in Portland. They're just like little hyphens that go across the
Mhm.
street instead of the 2 lines.
Oh, okay.
So, but I did Google it and there are different types of crosswalks. So I think if we unify and make them all the same, it would look better.
Maybe at the flashing. light.
Yeah,
Right,
like when you press a button, the light flashes type
Yeah.
of thing.
right.
Another question.
Yes,
They talked about cutting down one driveway from Ace Hardware. Has anyone actually talked to the owners about that?
I believe they have.
Okay.
I don't think we should on that. I mean, myself and a lot of other people in town frequent Ace Hardware. And I think if we take one of those out, it would be a big mistake. I mean, whether you want to come in the alley or not, behind Chapman's or behind the new
Yeah.
building by Paul's. And, or even if you go all the way up to Third and Main, park on the street there, taking out one of those, it would,
That's what I've used the alley all the
Right.
time
I-
instead of going to that intersection. And so the thought was if we're going to try to keep it as wide as possible, but
Right.
then thinking of the business owners there, trying to get some more spots for them. So what's that's a potential trade-off.
right.
Because he said like 2 or 3 more slots with getting rid of that one driveway. And if you're coming through the alley, you can go straight across the front of the store and out to whatever that street is over there.
Right.
And if you've got a bigger rig. So, I mean, it's gonna definitely change it. It's real convenient now, but it's an idea maybe a bit of a compromise.
Okay. So what do you want to compromise? What do you want to,
Well,
for a recommendation?
a recommendation would be to eliminate one of the driveways
Okay.
that goes on to Main.
So remove one of the 2 of them
Yeah,
or make it larger or,
or whatever.
do you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
just throwing out
Sure,
there.
making it up. The
Yeah.
guy's gonna draw it however they're gonna draw it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that go frequent ace, including myself, that have large vehicles. They're construction people that have got to go purchase
Yeah.
material that they don't drive your average small vehicle. So I think, in my opinion, I like the two openings because I can pull in one and just keep my vehicle pointing and come out the next
Mhm.
one. I mean, it's not a deal where everybody's going to have to start backing those large vehicles up to come out that same entrance where you're going to start having people crashing in a parking lot. Their parking spaces over there are kind of pull through parking spaces anyway. You don't have to come up to a curb. So it just
That's
makes it
true.
very convenient to
Yeah.
come in one entrance. And as soon as you're done, you just keep the car and drive and you come right out. That's just my opinion. I mean, I like the two.
And that's what I do with the alley.
Right.
Come through the alley and I just make a slight turn and go into one of those pull through slots. So
Right.
it's the same thing. It's just not off of Main, it's that alley. So.
Would they lose business because a lot of people may not know that setup? I mean, right now it's pretty obvious.
I don't
where
know,
it's-
if you're getting wood, I mean, that's the alley where you're going into the lot. So I don't know.
Go ahead.
I just wonder if proper signage could take care of that, if they would have to close it off and then just have arrows that kind of help people get into the alley to pick up things, but I still think that, as Casey was saying, I just have a 4Runner. It's not quite as large as some of the other trucks, but I still really enjoy the driving in on one side and
Right.
leaving on
Yeah.
the other end. And then also if I am in my car and there are other customers in their bigger vehicles, I've found it difficult backing up and then
Right.
making sure that I don't bump into them on my way out.
Okay, all right, Brandy?
My opinion would be to keep the two. I just think that it would cause more of a hassle. That's just my opinion.
I think if we do one, we would take out the parking all in the middle.
Mhm.
If we did one on either side, and we wouldn't be able to have people come in with a large truck or a trailer. That's all. In that respect.
Yeah.
You know, I don't tow a trailer like some people here.
Is there parking available in the alley?
I'm gonna say
Where
no.
the residents.
It would be back in the back lot, that lot that you pull in by the pet store, or not the grooming. You would pull in that lot there to get your wood in the
Right.
back. That would be the best way. Or to park on Third and Main. Either in front of 300 Main or up against the Ace Hardware with the trailer.
Well, I was thinking of the businesses. If parking's tight, is there availability for parking behind them?
I do have a possible solution for that. So hold on a second, Gary.
John, I appreciate what you're saying because, yeah, find the two spots, but if you are there in the morning early and you're getting supplies and stuff, that's kind of the heartbeat of Estacada for anything in the hardware zone, light on materials, but you're coming in and out. Those guys are going in and out constantly. It's a flow. Somebody's coming in, somebody's going out. This corner here, we're deciding no bump outs, but there's times I pull up, even though there's a slight bump out there going straight across on the left side of the property, and park the trailer there and stuff. And there's usually 2 to 3 cars, depending on the length of the cars, which they can park and then go in, the smaller vehicles, or like myself with a trailer. So, but I use that alley, like you say. I mean, I'm running in and out of that thing a lot. It's just that there's a congestion thing at different times of the day. And I think the first consideration would be the owners, like,
Right.
Mhm.
how do you
Right.
feel about losing
Right.
some entrance in that, you know?
Right.
I mean, they would be like, oh, we'd love to block our thing off so we get less. I mean, it's kind of that type of a thing, you know, they have a
Right.
flow now and they move a lot of people through there.
Yeah, they do.
And again, that would be probably discussion the city council has to have with
You know, I just-
Chapman's also.
Considering them.
I don't know if they're gonna take out something or do something on fourth side, or I don't know what's going on, but as long as there's no bump outs, I can say the 7 of us are gonna be pretty happy about that.
Right.
And the rest of the
Mhm.
citizens of Estacada. Okay, all right. All right, sorry, Melanie, going down the list here, trying to,
Counselor McElroy has.
oh, I'm sorry,
Quick question.
Counselor
Was
Grad.
it- was the exit that they're, I thought they were talking about taking out the one by the apartments
That's what I thought too.
on that side, not the access to Main. Was the ones that they were discussing about it, opening up additional parking on that road was getting rid of the exit on that street right there. Was it one of the ones on Main? I'm not looking, I was looking for the diagram, but
Oh.
of the Main
Yeah,
Street.
give that to Council McElroy there.
I have that too.
I still saved the big one.
I might be remembering wrong.
There's that big,
Oh,
larger map over there too. It's just, it's a early on one, but it can help you point things out. Yeah, right behind, over along the wall. And we could definitely talk to Stephen over at Ace and see, you know, what would it
I
be
thought there was an
helpful if there
access
was more
over here.
on-street parking or would he like to leave it the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that there was in there another driveway here.
Yeah, there is.
And that's the one I thought they were discussing about getting rid of, not either of these. ones.
Well, we need to clarify that because that's what we thought they were talking about and.
I think it was
If
the
that's-
one on Main.
Is it one? Okay,
Yeah.
my bad. Sorry about that,
Okay.
Gary.
Cause that way that would be
Now we have to-
possible to put
Big.
the diagonal parking along there if one of those entrances or exits left.
Apologize.
The one
I misread.
closest to
no
the,
worries. No,
to
okay,
the
that's good.
apartments.
Let's see. All right, and I guess parking would be another consideration. Bump outs, right, as you can see here, are gonna cause an issue on Third and Main in front of the 1900 Main building. And the bump out on the other side would cause the delivery truck not to back into Harvest Market.
Yeah.
So a recommendation we have, or that we've thought through a little bit, is possibly the city purchase the lot over here next to Sol Tapatio. And on the Main Street, I'm sorry, the fourth, have angled parking going up to the fire driveway. And possibly have a water feature or something saying,
Big little pocket park kind of thing.
here's Estacada, this is what it is. So we'd have more pedestrian traffic and things like that there. So just a suggestion, you know, I know a lot of people talk about the taking away of parking. I think we could get, I don't know, was it 5 to 7
Yeah.
parking spaces there? So I don't know how everyone thinks about that. Brandy?
I have a question. So,
Yes.
we discussed on so like you're coming down Main heading towards 224.
Yeah.
The right side being only parallel parking, right? Because they wanted to do the diagonal, but didn't we talk about making it parallel
Yes, that was.
instead of diagonal?
So we, this.
Okay, so B,
He's
And
got
then
those
the-
ribbons
the-
over here, so
parking you were just talking about, where is that at?
That empty lot next to Sol Tapatio.
Okay, but not the diagonal parking that would be right at the end of the hill. 'cause
It's
that
gonna
would
be on Fourth,
Okay, perfect. Okay.
off of Main Street.
Because I know somebody had mentioned at the council meeting something about the diagonal parking right at the bottom of the hill, and we're all like, no, because people will come down and then
Well-
you have a big problem.
Coming
because-
around from Harvest.
Yeah, well, because coming down
or
Broadway,
Broadway.
you've got that diagonal parking and it's a problem. Because you're coming down that hill, you have a hard time stopping and people are pulling out of Harvest or High School Pharmacy from that parallel window where the window is.
Right.
And have that on Main again.
And that's in dry conditions.
Yeah, that would be a big problem. maybe.
Add ice to
Okay, I
that.
just wanted to make sure we weren't recommending that.
No, no.
'cause-
So is that a group recommendation for no diagonal parking on the west side of Main? That-
We recommend parallel parking, like
Yeah,
the A
I mean, parallel.
option, that's okay.
Parallel, not diagonal,
So,
right?
yeah, the
yeah.
Okay.
option A, and again, they both have their good features to it.
Uh-huh.
Option A has the angled parking in front of McCray's all the way down to Third and Main. And then option B is parallel parking. We want it to present option C
Okay.
with no bump outs, parallel parking, and some recommendations on top of that. So we don't want A, we don't want B, we want C.
No bump outs. So, and but you're talking about angle parking on the other side potentially, but no angle parking.
But it would
on
be
the
off,
Four.
It
it
would
would
be
be on
off Main.
Fourth,
Okay,
but that would only be if there was a,
that would be a future
exactly.
option. Okay, so.
Exactly.
Parallel parking. Okay, you guys mentioned crosswalks at one point, but I didn't pick up what style of crosswalk you liked.
The four-way crosswalk here with the lights and possible lights in the street, similar to what we would want up at Sixth and Main, Sixth and Broadway, like the high school.
Like the big white, like
Right.
continental marks, not just the little lines across. Okay,
I think we're all in agreement that the circles, I mean,
No,
the circles, I don't think anyone wants the
No
circles
circles?
on
No.
Main. Yeah,
okay.
or I guess
So-
I don't know if those are pavers, those are the pavers or
Could be the cobblestone
think they're
pavers, there'd be
concrete.
decorative,
concrete.
you know,
Okay.
instead.
Right, I think they did it with concrete over there, but so no circles and the continental crosswalk, which is the big.
The standard crosswalk, right?
okay. To me, a standard crosswalk is like the two little lines that go across.
Right.
You want the two little lines?
What's the
With the-
continental?
That's the big
Diagonal.
chunks of white.
that's the one we want.
That's what we want.
The-
Much more
The
visible.
zebra stripes? is
Yeah,
that
yeah, well, they're not really, I don't know, are they zebra stripes? I don't know what they are.
the-
Like, where do we have them? We have them at the,
Do you mean like the hyphens?
Yeah,
Up by like
Yes.
Sixth and Main?
yeah, where you
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, where they're, you drive through. It's like a big, the whole thing is painted except for you have tire stripes. How do you say that, Mike?
I'm trying to visualize it.
she's asking if we need one.
Like the,
This one. So that one's okay.
I don't know, big rectangle white blocks across,
Much more
the-
visible.
like the Beatles, like the
Yeah, that's what-
Beatles.
Okay,
that
that's what we mean.
crosswalk.
Abbey Road.
Yes.
Okay,
Right?
I think
Oh.
that's what we mean.
we that old?
So is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Or just the two?
Is
little
everybody okay with that
lines?
for the high visible ones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
all right, got it.
and then didn't we want to also, sorry,
That's
I
okay.
just, didn't we want to also have it where if you press a button, lights come on to
Right.
make it more visible too?
Yep.
Was that, okay. so-
ADA compliant.
Yeah.
Visually impaired. Handicap, wheelchair accessible,
Mhm.
all that.
Crossing lights, how do you make it audible? Because it's audible for the person walking.
I-
Like here, it could be audible. I could say it's walk and you would know, but there, if you push the button, it doesn't really need to be audible, right? Because you know you've pushed the button.
I
Is
don't
it-
know. I thought that there was an option where it'll blink and it'll also make like a beeping noise. Oh, here we go. Here, Jim.
There we go. Say, I knew. Here we go. Okay, the parallel lines, what we're talking about, we can do the zebra, the wide zebra, the tight zebra, or the gapped and halved zebra. I think
Had to make
everybody
it
can see that.
complicated.
All right, we're gonna have to take a vote on that.
That's what you mean, right? The zebra?
I like that one. Yeah, I like that.
And show Mike, yeah,
Zebra.
zebra,
I vote zebra.
zebra with the
Good, I
bells
never
and
knew if you were
whistles.
like that.
Zebra. Right. Good, thank
Sit
you.
on down.
All right,
Katie's got something.
all right, let's see.
Katie's got her hand up.
Oh, sorry, Katie, go ahead.
I just meant to make one more comment about the angled parking, because was it the city engineer? Was he the gentleman that did the whole
Mhm.
explanation? So I just wanted to make sure that when we do bring the recommendation, because he also said, oh, we could do the angled parking on one side, and then he really went into
Mhm.
depth at, oh, we would still have way more space than Broadway, and trying to kind of make that sound attractive to everybody else. And I just wanted to make sure that we really bring home the comment about, yes, we hear you, but we still don't want it. Because he was really, yeah, trying to kind of mention that we could still get so many more spots on this side. And I guess it sounded like we're all in consensus in terms of not.
Right,
wanting
and we
it.
have
Yeah.
all the online surveys and the people talking about Main Street
Mhm.
during those open meetings
Okay.
that people, the big thing was speeding. People want to see speed bumps or something at Fourth and Main stopping traffic.
Mhm.
That's what was in all that. So
Okay.
we're good.
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree with that.
Keeping, I mean, basically keep Broadway and Broadway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is a major artery, especially with, I don't know if everyone was watching, but you had a business owner at the top of the hill.
Mhm.
You know, she even mentioned bike lanes. And I said, that's something we have to talk about too. Been here almost 6 years and I've never seen anyone ride their bike on Main Street. Other than a few gentlemen my age on little huffies. So I don't feel a 6-foot
Mm-mm.
bike lane having any purpose on Main Street. That's my opinion, though.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else is in agreement with that, or, I mean, we saw
What about up by the schools?
there could be something done up there, but our concern right here is on when you enter Estacada. You know, and people get out and walk around, that there's not something that's this large for a bike. I mean, I'm pretty big and I don't need this much room to ride a bike. I mean, seriously, you know,
If you
So-
build it, they will come.
Yeah,
that's true. Brandon?
I have the same opinion. I don't know if everybody else wants to give their opinion on this one, but
Mhm.
6 feet for a bike lane. If we're gonna do a bike lane, why do we need 6 feet? It seemed really, really ridiculous in my opinion. And I'd like to second what Katie had said. It did feel a little bit like, I'm glad we're able to give a formal recommendation because when we were speaking, it kind of did feel like the city engineer was just trying to sell his point no matter what. And I know his job is to do what the council directs him to do. And
Right.
hopefully our recommendation will be taken to heart because I think we did a lot of work to try to find out what the community wants. And also the visual made a big difference for me.
Definitely.
Personally, I didn't really have much of an opinion until we did that and it made a huge change. So yeah, I'd like to second that, make sure that we drive home the reason why the parking is parallel. We came to this conclusion because of these reasons, you know, there's a good reason for it. It's not just because we don't like the look of it. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
John,
That was one of the things I was noticing when I watched the meeting is a quote was, they'll get used to it.
Mhm,
And I thought, oh boy.
and what did the restaurant owner said? Where else are we supposed to go?
mhm.
I mean, that was well said. I mean, we didn't have to use anything else but her comments. Where else are we supposed to go in Estacada? I mean, I haven't driven a truck as large as a fire engine, but if something happens on Broadway, the fire department has to go there.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is, but would they probably choose to be out here going a little faster and trying to get somewhere on time? They're probably going to choose Main Street to get somewhere. And we're
Mhm.
trying to make sure that, you know, there's no bump out right here where they're trying to turn on Main. You know, you saw that and Katie saw that and Carrie and everybody saw that. It was, you know, when he made that turn right here, he was almost on the yellow line going from Jeremy Lovelace to Main. Go ahead, Kate.
I was gonna add to that, he did say, the city engineer, he did say that, I think Carrie was really driving home the point about the bump outs, and then he said, well, the fire trucks, even without the bump outs, can't even make the turn, and then I was like, well, then why are we gonna add the bump outs if they can't even make it without it? And so I don't know, I kind of felt like he made it sound like our little study was irrelevant almost, and so, I don't know, just kind of seemed like, then what are we here, here for?
He's
Yeah.
entitled to his opinion. but
Yeah,
that's fine.
absolutely.
That's fine.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Can we show the video
Oh,
of
yes.
the fire truck so that Casey can see too?
Definitely. Thank you. Yes.
How they're bumped out slightly onto Main, but then it's flat. You know, they're flush. There's no bump out on Third or Fourth. Are those bump outs okay? Or do you want no bump? Do you want to just flat curb? Because I feel like we got like competing thing. We want people to slow down, we want pedestrian safety, but we also want to widen out the streets and make it feel like the people drive by how it feels. And if it feels really wide and open, they're going to drive faster. So we put a stop sign in and that could help them slow down, but
I think we've solved
Yeah.
the Fourth and Main with the four-way stop, the crosswalks, highly visible for pedestrians. And we have the lights, and whether it be the audio and visual ones saying walk.
Uh-huh.
Here, we can do similar. I don't know how everyone feels about stop signs going up Main here, but definitely not coming down the hill. Maybe adding one more, I'm not sure, but Mike, go ahead, Counselor.
Oh. So it's gonna be a four-way stop at Fourth and Main is what you're proposing?
We're adding 2 stop signs there. Yes.
Gotcha. Only thing I'd say on that, it was really great to have a visual when you guys set everything up. It'd be nice to see during peak traffic how that looks stacking up towards 224 with the four-way
Mm.
stop at Fourth. Maybe before, it would be good to get a test run in on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Set up a stop there and just see what it looks like during peak traffic coming off 224.
That sounds good. And especially with, if we had bump outs before we did all that, I don't think anyone could make that right turn onto Fourth.
Yeah.
So if we did have everyone stacking up like we have the issue up at the high school at Sixth and Main,
Yeah.
Mhm.
in that Coyote Ridge proposal, they said a right-hand turn lane should be proposed in front of Planet Cup of Joe. So to alleviate the traffic of everyone coming and getting their kids at the high school all the way back to Granny's.
Mhm.
So if we keep it, wide like this here, we're not gonna back everyone up, but I'm all for that
Yeah.
at peak times. And I'd have to research, I think the traffic studies, it's like between 7:30 and 9 and then
I'd have to
4 and
double check.
5:30 or something
Yeah.
like that.
That's a good idea.
That is a good idea. Thank you. All right. So to answer your question, Melanie, no bump outs. At all. Yes. Right, the islands, right. They were good for just taking a picture of Main Street going towards 224. Go ahead.
I do think that the sidewalks will have to be flush though, just to kind of go with ADA requirements and just overall, wouldn't you think for pedestrian flow?
You mean like coming onto the sidewalks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes, that's right.
You see the backup there, Counselor, coming down. Right there.
Oh, it was such a mess.
Yep. It's in there. There's Mr. Dobbs.
There it is.
Here we go, Casey.
See
Yeah, with
that
that car there, yep, back it up. Yeah,
And that's all
how it
we're,
works.
like what John said, that's kind of bumped out a little bit there. So it'll be
Mhm.
similar to, but even more so
Right,
when Kerry marked everything there, you see how much further it comes out
yeah.
and he's already in the other lane. And see, there's no bump out there and he still had a hard time turning
Right,
onto Main.
Still coming across center line.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. All
Yeah,
right.
I have one quick thing to add before we move
Brandy.
on. I did notice, the video was posted online on like one of the Facebook groups.
Mhm.
And I noticed one of the firefighters commented yesterday or today, Micah, and he had mentioned he hopes the city of Estacada looks at this video and takes heed what we're saying. And he had some comments on there, so maybe we can encourage the council to look at those comments because there's quite a lot on those videos.
Would you like me to read them?
Go for it.
Okay. This is from one of the firefighters here in town. City of Estacada government, this would take extremely valuable time in our response to calls, especially if there was other vehicles behind the one car that did have to back up. That would have caused a lot of confusion on how to act in this situation and how other vehicles would choose to respond when lights and sirens are going. Some people might not choose to do anything at all. Happens all the time now, even when there are no traffic control devices in the way or street and intersection. So that was his opinion on that video. So, it's good. Getting the word out. Okay. Does anyone else have anything specifically? I think sidewalks, did we say 8 feet? I can't remember. Okay. Is everyone all right with 2-foot smaller sidewalks? I think on option A on the angled parking, they were 8 or 10. Carrie. One of them was smaller here in front of City Hall than the other side
Some of them were 10.
at Chevron
Standard commercial.
Okay.
Are 10-foot,
or 10-foot.
but I think they reduced them to 8 to accommodate the angle parking, but if we're not having angle parking, you could have a 10-foot sidewalk. That's nice for, if you're gonna have, sidewalk service, like, Clackamas River Growlers does, you're required to have a 10-foot sidewalk
Okay.
for that, so.
And what does everyone think about the green areas and benches and things like that? I mean, the bollards are $16,000 and the chains and all that. I'm thinking we still stick with Broadway stays on Broadway. I don't know what you guys think.
You know what the bollards are?
Yeah, I think the idea was to make Maine look like Broadway, and I think that's not gonna work, so.
Right. Okay. Anyone else?
The feedback from the people kind of spoke pretty loud.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
people there's a lot of horse trailers on Saturday morning. People driving had an opinion. They expressed it. So, I think Broadway is cool, it works for like the small town thing, like the Troutdale zone and all that stuff and other areas. The main artery though is a little different. And I think that's what people spoke of, I think, that main artery, getting to the top of the hill, things moving. I do feel in agreement with it, the stopping, for the pedestrians and the ADA and for those sight impaired. They need, people need to move around and stuff as best as possible. But it's just my take on hearing the voice of the public.
Thank you, Carrie. There's a lot of people that talked to Carrie that day, for sure. And again, I said at the city council meeting, I've never seen so many horse trailers on Main Street
Yeah.
since I lived there. So that was pretty awesome. See
Yeah.
everybody out there. Okay, yeah, does anyone else have anything? I'm trying to think, I guess the lighting, maybe standard lighting. I don't have any recommendations. Anyone incandescent or anything special, or I don't know. I had to look it up. Counselor.
Not on the lighting subject. Did you land on 10-foot, the commercial on the sidewalk?
Yeah,
Is that where you
I
landed?
think
Okay.
I think that's good. And that would only change if we had put the angled parking. All right,
I think we covered it all.
we got everything
I
on?
think so.
Jim, on the lighting, the newer LED, high lumen LED lighting puts off a lot of light at a very low cost. That's one thing I know that a lot of the projects we're working on, they're switching over to the LED as opposed to the traditional.
And that would be everything on Main Street and perhaps some areas, shining
I haven't
next
seen,
to growlers.
I
or-
haven't particularly looked at it and on exterior lighting, but on
Okay.
interior lighting, I know they just
Oh,
put off a
okay.
tremendous amount of lights.
Okay,
Do a little digging for you if you'd like.
well, that'd be great.
I think the streetlights out there have been converted to LED, if I remember right. But we'd probably want to put in some pedestrian level lighting, like, so when people are walking on the sidewalk or coming up to I think that's on the drawing is the pedestrian level lighting, kind of like on, out here on the highway and on Broadway, where it lights up the sidewalk, and makes people walking in the light versus walking in the dark and, or is that okay? Add some of those. I think there's just a handful of those on each side of the street.
Where would those go?
I think they're on
At Fourth and Main?
all along the sidewalk.
What do you mean,
Oh,
the
yeah.
two
Isn't
little?
there, yeah, isn't
They-
there like a couple little lights? I
They
think that's-
mentioned it during the last
I want to say
meeting.
it was a green
Mhm.
circle that
There's
Yeah.
3 small green lights on either side
That's probably.
on the
yeah, that's
Chevron and
probably
this, so 3 per block.
Right.
Yeah, I
so
like
it
that.
would-
Okay.
Like when you think of going down Broadway, there's no overhead street lights. Because there's no utility poles. It's
Right.
all that pedestrian level, but it lights up the street and the sidewalk pretty well.
Okay.
At least it feels like it to me. Now I'm gonna have to go drive it and see, but.
Randy?
I think there should be nothing wrong with the lighting. I think that's a great idea. I don't see why we wouldn't recommend lighting.
Pedestrian level
Yeah.
and the LED, hopefully.
Why
outside.
not?
Okay. All right, so if we are done on that, we can move on to, oh, we already did that for the committee business. Those are our
Yeah.
recommendations.
Kind of, yeah, I kind of combined that, I guess. I didn't know if you wanted to do actual more of a presentation, but if you're good, we kind of walk through the slides and then jotted down the
Mhm.
recommendations. I've been
Yep.
keeping notes. Any other thoughts, Carrie?
Carrie,
I have a question back on the lighting. Did we decide to do? Would we copy the lighting on Broadway, the same style like that, or would we do a different type of lighting?
In the downtown plan, I think it was a simpler lighting because it was maybe not as, it'd be similar, but not the same probably. It could be the same because those aren't really that fancy. Sometimes you get real scrolly,
Right.
fancy little lights and, I feel like those are pretty neutral. I don't know, do you want to recommend
Well, on the
Okay.
lighting that's right over here, like in the summertime, you've got the fuchsias and the plants and everything that hang off that.
oh, yeah,
That kind of come like that. I mean, that's a real tourist. I think that's like a real cheery atmosphere and stuff. And I mean, I don't know, would we want to propose the same type of lighting, even though it's a different thing and we would
Yeah.
have that look? Is that look important or not? Because even though this is maybe more of a main artery, it's still tying into
Mhm.
to the look. And I mean, my wife and I, it's like, "Ooh, we have cool flowers, we walk around and stuff, it's just, it's cheery,
Mhm.
it's neat, and it's like, yeah, hometown stuff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to present it and say, hey, we're here, you want this to match Broadway. Here's how it can match Broadway in a reasonable, functional way while still keeping the safety and traffic in mind. So I like that idea.
more lights, more safety.
Yeah.
Katie, go ahead.
I do
Sorry, I'm
also-
writing, so I'm not looking up.
Oh, it's
Sorry.
okay. I do also think it's really charming. When we first moved here, I thought, it's a very neat town. And then if we do keep the 10 feet sidewalks and we do have businesses that have the sidewalk seating and you have the same lighting, I think people are going to feel like this is the kind of business they're going to want to visit if they feel like they can sit outside in the summertime. And then also I think that if you come down Broadway in the wintertime and they have all the lights up, it's really charming again to see that, the holiday spirit, Christmas spirit. And then I think if they do the same here, I think if we are saving a lot of money on a lot of the other things, and I think this would be okay expensive.
The bollards, the pavers.
Yeah,
the-
exactly. We're not gonna need to spend all that money on that and a couple lights here and there. And I think the main thing is in the winter months, since we have, the sun is going down at 4:30. And then you do want it to feel safe. And I think back to safety, I think that the lights are important in that regard.
Sounds good. All right, anyone else on Main Street recommendations for Monday evening? Oh, okay,
Did,
go ahead, John.
did you guys quantify at the meeting how many, like the actual number of people we talked to? And the percent negative, that sort of thing? Did you actually give them numbers?
It wasn't an official recommendation, so we didn't have a chance. We only had like 3 minutes.
Yeah, we
we
just
kinda
went
went through it.
down everything that we had, Chevron, Sol Tapatio, and that's what we did in the presentation, and then the citizens did a
Yeah,
good job
I
at the
saw
end.
that.
Yeah, so I mean, they gave, and a lot of them were 20+ year residents of Estacada, so that was well heard and
Yeah,
understood.
because it wasn't close. I mean, scores and scores and scores of people, and it wasn't close.
Right,
Mhm.
definitely. All right. Let's see. All right, moving on to the review, discussion and adoption of proposed bylaws. Everyone have a chance to look over that. I know Melanie got she got out the red pen on me there and did quite a few things there, but I appreciate the Estacada municipal codes and Estacada city codes that I wasn't familiar with. So thank you for that, Melanie. Does anyone have any recommendations on that or want to do a motion or amend anything?
I move to approve the bylaws.
Okay, I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Who was the first and the second on that?
I was first.
First.
Brandy? John?
John, okay, thank you.
Excellent. And moving on, update on their transportation system plan.
Okay, and I don't really have anything to report on that this time.
Okay.
We will be having the What's Up Estacada on February 15th, and there'll be some more information on that. They keep the, there's a webpage on our website if people are interested in finding out about it, but there's nothing really new to report. And if anybody has questions though, or ideas, or you turn a corner, you haven't turned for a while and you're like, this could be better, or this has more traffic than I thought, just feel free to give us a
Right.
call.
I do have a question on that. I don't know if anything's been put down on paper since 2018, since the last time that was done. Is it possible to get the 2018 and then the additions that either Kurt or the city staff have done? So this
Since
committee can see
2018.
the TSP plan
Um,
for the 2018 document?
Yeah, the 2018 document was the active transportation plan, and that
Right.
just dealt with the bicycle and pedestrian chapters of the
Okay.
transportation system. And that is on our website, but I can send you guys a link to that.
Okay,
So really all that did was update those two chapters.
Okay.
And then this update to the full transportation system involves all, recategorizing roads that are now being used more than they were, or adding roads that weren't there. Kind of updating the whole plan with less of a focus on the bicycle and pedestrian, because those chapters had just recently been updated.
and do you have any finality to that, what you just said? So
To
we
the-
could see that on a piece of paper
I can
for the
share,
committee?
I could share with you the active transportation plan from 2018. And then, I'll send you links to like each
Okay.
individual plan, and then there's nothing final right now.
Right,
to
no, I
change, right?
understand
Okay.
that. I know it's a work in progress and I know
Okay.
there's certain benchmarks you have to meet throughout the year and there's an end phase on when it'll be done, but
This fall, it'll be
Okay.
done in the fall,
Okay.
hopefully. So, but yeah, I'll send you a link to the 2018 active transportation plan. And the one, 2007, I can't remember.
was it back then?
It was a while ago, yeah.
Okay.
And John had a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Two comments. One, on the 2018 plan, one thing I did see when we looked through that was there's been a lot of construction since then, and some of those numbers are probably
Right.
woefully inadequate at this point. The other thing I wanted to just comment on is with all those homes and with the whole transportation plan, my understanding is that there's an opportunity to influence what the developers do on their sections in terms of where paths go and where this goes and that and the other. But once they start building, then you're done. So I don't know when, and I don't know if you really are done or not, but once you start building, making additions or changes is more difficult. And I just don't know what the timeline is for them to start the construction of those different subdivisions. And so giving ourselves enough time to give good input that will influence or potentially influence what the developers do on their lots, that would be ideal.
Yes, this is the time to make those recommendations so they can be incorporated. Like what's the standard width for a street? Things like that. And I don't know if we go so far as to detail how a development would develop. But yeah, this is the time, because once you're right, the shovel goes in the ground, it's usually the plan is set and that's how it turns out. So this is a good time to take a look. I'll send you the plans we have and I'll ask if there's any other information that I should get you for feedback right now. As soon as we have a committee or a community meeting upcoming, I'll let you know that too.
Okay, and, oh, go ahead, Brandy.
No, go ahead. You go first.
No.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, is there an update every time a development comes in? Is there an
No.
update? No. Oh, okay.
I want to build on what Brandy said and John. I read an article in the Escata News on my birthday, December 22nd, about Mr. Grantham.
Mhm.
And I guess I do attend all the city council meetings, but I had no idea that there were actually 12 developments in Estacada. Were there traffic studies done at each of these? And is it possible that this committee could see every traffic study done? If you had that on an
Yes.
email, or if it was PDF, since it was an outside contractor sending it to you guys, because I've really looked at the Coyote Ridge and I already have questions about that because of what they're developing and it affects Sixth and Main. But it looks like the plans to do anything about it aren't going to happen until 2030. So right there, I have a problem with that.
Let me see, because they would all, if a traffic impact study was required, they would
Right.
be in the, they would have been in the report to the planning commission and the city council.
Okay,
But I can find out which ones required that
okay,
and send that information out. Well, you guys are gonna have a lot of reading material.
that's okay. And I'm trying to find something here.
I
Anyone
think
else?
everyone that's come up before us, since I've been there, Jim has had a TIS on it.
Okay. I just, wanted to, it was overwhelming just to go through the Coyote Ridge one. And that was just one of them. And then I saw this equation and it took me back to like junior high math and I freaked out because it was this long equation. I just was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. So I needed a little bit, easier. These are the peak times, like you said, just so we can see that some of these going through it were above what the standard is. Sixth and Main, you're gonna have all these people coming from Coyote Ridge, either traveling over up to Cemetery, down to Coupland, going to the high school, junior high, River Mill, or Clackamas River, or coming down Eagle Creek and coming up to Sixth and Main or Sixth and Broadway to access it. And are you gonna let all the people come in first? Or are you gonna build it? Fix the road first? That was the only question I had. Cause it makes sense to do it ahead of time. But again, I'm from Massachusetts and that's the way we did things back then. And the cousin gets a contract, and the second cousin. That's, go ahead, Katie.
Do we remember which intersection Mr. Grantham was saying he was gonna build the light at?
River Mill and Eagle Creek.
So he said so the developer himself was going to cover the cost for that, or was it? gonna
Couple $1 million.
be- Because isn't that supposed to be covered also by the county since it's, or the states and the highway?
That I'm not sure.
Oh, yes.
There's a plan in place for him to get compensation back through credits and permit fees as they develop those subdivisions to offset the cost. of it.
Okay, I remember.
He wasn't
that.
gonna carry the entire burden, but he's taking the risk of, there's no guarantee, like if for some reason it fell through, then he would be taking that risk. But like if they didn't develop those lots to get the credit back, then there would be the risk involved in that.
Okay,
Is that correct? Nolan?
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah.
so it would be River Mill crossing it over into where the Estacada Bark is right now, is that correct?
At the top of the hill.
The top
At
of the
the
hill.
top of the
Top of the
hill?
hill where it currently tees into a
Eagle Creek
stop.
Road.
Okay,
continue straight on.
Right.
so it would be like a T intersection with a light, is that right?
That's gonna continue straight through. The road's gonna open up. Right now, it's a dead end
Oh, I
at Eagle Creek
see.
Road. That road is gonna continue on.
Okay.
It's gonna go, what is it, Kern Creek or something? It's gonna go up to
Yeah,
where all the
Some-
Morning Dove and the
Googling.
Golden Pheasant, whatever those streets are up there.
Okay.
Hillway
Thank
is the
you.
one
Oh,
that's gonna
Hillway.
cut through. That's the one that's gonna eventually join in
Morning
over off
Dove.
Cemetery is
right.
Hillway.
Hillway's
I can't
over
think of
there. I think they are calling it, I think it is gonna go back into Current Creek. So I don't know when it turns from Current Creek into Rivermill Road, but
Okay.
that's, yeah.
Okay. And do you have, you know, I know we can Google, but in regards to just looking at, I don't mean to keep hitting on this, the Coyote Ridge, the public street standards. Do we just Google Escata Municipal Code, the 16.116.030? Or is there
don't know.
links to that?
Let me find out because that might be
Because that's
In-
public street standards
right.
for the
in that-
developments, and I just want to know where that is.
Let me find out about where that's at because I don't know if that's in the code or if that's in this, we had the city standards that our public works director has.
Okay,
I'm not sure where that's located at. So let me get standards for streets.
and last one on this, I promise.
Okay.
On part 7, on review of chapter 16.118, pedestrian access, connectivity, and transit stops for the Coyote Ridge preliminary plat narrative on page 23 of 32 of the Planning Commission report. It has the same one, but it says section 16.118.020 evacuation routes. Evacuation routes identified in the transportation system plan must be constructed to the standards identified in the transportation system plan. There are no identified evacuation routes for the site in transportation system plan. This criterion is not applicable. I confused on that one.
Okay, so if we don't have standards for them to meet, then it doesn't apply. So that's why it's not. So if if you're talking about and I'm not a land use planner, so.
No, I'm just, I
but
know
yeah.
you guys last year did the evacuation. Is that considered a piece of the TSP? You know, when you guys were doing that emergency management stuff,
Oh, the emergency-
evacuation routes,
the-
is that being absorbed into TSP as, that's the reason why I'm asking that.
That's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer that. We did an emergency management plan
Right.
or emergency
Right.
operations plan. It didn't have doesn't have standards for streets in there, and it actually didn't identify evacuation routes necessarily, which is why we'd like you to be part of the, two of you are part of the hazard mitigation
Okay.
planning. And
But do you
so,
see my concern when I'm just reading that? And
yeah,
I
like, how
don't
do you
even know
get out of
anything about
a-
it.
how do you get out of a neighborhood? Like,
Yeah.
is what, yeah. So they would have to have streets that meet our standards, but let me find out where those
Okay.
are, if they're in that code, in the TSP, or if there's a different standard that we have. I'm not sure where those are at.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Good point.
streets and evacuation routes.
And I'm sure I'll find it in every one of the 12 ones, but I'm just curious
Okay, yeah.
before
okay.
I start reading the 11 other ones. John,
Just, I think it applies, but you know, the Eagle Creek and River Mill, but then the from River or from Eagle Creek to the highway is just a little 2-lane thing. And I thought I remember someone talking about potentially putting some kind of traffic control at River Mill and Eagle Creek or at River Mill and
224.
the highway. But also, if you've got so many homes and if that's their way out, that
Mhm.
little 2-lane road isn't enough. It's gonna need to
That's a
be
good
bigger.
point.
than that.
definitely. Just like the, right here, 224 in Maine.
Yeah.
Right? No light here. Okay, all right. Okay, moving on to prioritization of pedestrian crossing improvements for Public Works Director. All right, I guess, he put up a bunch of his,
Yes, on that map over there. I should've-
crosswalks.
I should have kept it over here, but
okay.
so the Public Works Director would like to spend some of his budget on streets for pedestrian crossing improvements with where you push the button. Probably most of them, we push the button and it makes the lights flash so cars can stop. He highlighted 5 different intersections that, in his opinion, could really benefit from that. And what would like if we can only get through 2 of them or 3 of them, 2 of them this year, maybe another 1 or 2 next year, what order would you want them to be done? How would you prioritize those? This should be done first, this should be done second. Also, are there other crossings that you would rather call out and prioritize? You don't have to just use his, but we've got 4th and Main here, but that's going to be done in the project, so we'll kind of
Okay.
leave that off. And then 2nd and Main up by Clackamas River, 2nd and Pierce
That's,
there's a lot of
Perfect.
crossing there. It's a 4-way, 2nd and Pierce is a 4-way stop. And it seems less difficult to cross than on Main, but there's a lot of activity there. And then has, I think, farther up at 6th and Main and 6th
and Broadway, right.
So
Oh, yeah.
if you could make, discuss among yourselves and come up with what's the highest priority one,
okay.
and kind of work your way down, or add in others if you think there's someplace else there should
Okay.
be. Yeah, that would be great.
What does everyone think?
I
Randy?
would say 6th and Main, 6th and Broadway, then 2nd and Main, and then Pierce. That would be the order I would go.
I agree with
Yeah,
all
I
those
agree with
schools.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, same.
Okay, hold
Because
on
we're
here.
knocking out 2 schools up top and then 2 schools.
Yeah.
The second
So it
time
was,
around.
what was the first one? 6th and
6th and Main, then 6th and Broadway, then 2nd and Main, then 2nd and Pierce.
Yep.
2nd
Good.
and Main is a big problem, but I think 6th and Main, 6th and Broadway are.
At
top.
least they do keep their cones out there all
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
time.
they
And I know,
do.
I mean, they're doing something. That's
Question
good.
about 6th and Main, being that that's a 3-way stop versus 2nd and Main, where the traffic just goes through.
Mhm.
Do you still think that 6th and Main is a higher priority than 2nd and Main? Just throwing that out there.
I mean, it's a good point. I think the biggest thing is, from my perspective, my daughter goes to CRE. 2nd and Main is a big problem, huge problem. They do have the cones out there. They do have crossing guards, but when a crossing guard is sick, guess what? You're on your own. So I do see that being a higher priority too. I mean, I could probably swap either one of those, in my opinion. I'd like to see what everybody else thinks, but I think the 2 main ones are probably.
Hopefully it's money for all 4.
That would be ideal.
I'm hoping.
Wouldn't that be great to not have to nickel and dime it out over 2 or 3 years, be able to just do it?
No, that was full sidewalks, signage. What was that? What's
That-
his proposal?
This is to add the solar powered crossing lights. So there's already sidewalks at these places. We need to repaint crosswalks for paint was at a premium. I don't even know if it's available yet. And the thermoplastic was hard to get to. So he's going to be working on that. But this is specifically to buy those signs that he'll install that will have they're solar powered. You push the button and they flash. Or also the school had wanted a school zone flashing light. We'd kind of like to put that up too.
Mhm.
Maybe
Definitely.
that would be even where they can program it for when school is in, it's
I like that.
flashing.
Right.
And when, then when it's no school, it just sits there. But I mean, that could be another one that you recommend too. But we just feel like rather than us just saying, yeah, let's do this, this and this, if you guys, since you're here, if you could weigh in on it, that would be awesome.
What's everybody else thinking? Am I the only one giving?
No, I,
That's
I
okay.
second what you mentioned
Okay.
about the priority of them and for the sake of the schools, I do think we should prioritize that. Because I do take Main and Broadway a lot, but then I don't have any kids in school yet, so I don't have experience with those hours. But I can definitely see how, the flashing light of when school is in session, because then for somebody like me, it reminds me, hey, it's school hours right now. And I bet I'm not the only one.
Another good point is 2nd and Broadway is also a big problem. They do have a four-way stop there, but a lot of kids cross that street when they're coming home from school. And a lot of times kids that age don't really pay much attention. And it's very well known that on Broadway right there on Second, that a lot of those cars don't stop at that four-way stop. So that's also maybe something we could add in later. It's not like more priority than the others, but it is something I've noticed.
Put that at the
personally.
bottom of the
Yeah.
list.
That's good. Anyone else? Anyone else have anything to add? It's good though, but you
So we
have
got
those,
Sixth and Main, Sixth and Broadway. Can we switch though? Never mind. It's your recommendation. Sixth and Main, then Sixth and Broadway, Second and Main, Second and Pierce, Second and Broadway. And a flashing light when school is in session. The place the school was asking for it was right when you come up the hill. And you're gonna enter the school zone that way. Should that fit into your category, to your list there anywhere, or is that just whenever we can do it?
do you mean the speed limit side or the flashing for school?
The flashing for school.
That should be at Sixth and Broadway. That should be at Sixth and Main. That should be over in front of the high school. That should be at what is it, Second and
Second and Main.
Second and Main and Second and Pierce. And I'm sorry, front of the junior high. What is that street there?
It's like, if you,
Fifth.
basically, if you had it from like, once you come up the hill on Main, all the way up, right? Wouldn't you want
Mhm.
it all the way up
Right.
Main?
Definitely Main for those flashing.
I think she was just referring to, I think it was just one that was being proposed
Oh,
by the school.
That's
and
great.
Where it
Which
wasn't
school?
the priority
Yeah, yeah,
Which
of
school?
those
Which
is what
school?
she was asking.
And where do they propose?
right up here at the top of the, go up Main Street.
Okay,
And in that first block, when you're gonna be entering that school zone. Could that
Perfect.
be, should that? Where would that
Yeah,
fit in your
I think it should be at
list?
the top.
yeah.
At the top.
Yeah.
I
At
At the
agree.
Yeah,
top? Okay.
that's good.
All right, so we got the flashing light for when school is in session, and then we hit Sixth and Main, Sixth and Broadway.
Yep.
Second and Main, Second and Pierce, Second and Broadway.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we could work on, like coming in from, well, when you're like one coming in to River Mill School from, Campanella on Broadway up there, we could work on that later too, but,
Mhm.
Yeah,
this
because
was
you have to come by the Shell station and take a left onto Broadway to get to River Mill and then exit on 10th.
Yeah. and
That's
some-
the route that you have to
Oh,
take.
that's the route to take
Right.
to get to River Mill.
I mean, people don't do it, but that's what the school has proposed and, you know,
Okay.
I go out to the laundromat and then there's a whole line of people on Eagle Creek and I'm just like, oh, I'm not working. It's not a big deal, but
Okay.
there's a lot of people coming into town.
Okay,
a
well,
lot.
we'll get going on this and then see how far down the list, and then we can revisit it and get other recommendations.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. Okay. Committee, moving on to the next one, committee priorities discussion.
I think they're underneath that.
Oh, all right.
This is just something that I pulled out just to help you be organized. This is helpful. If it's not helpful, don't worry about it. That was from your first meeting, some of the things you talked about. Being priorities, and I don't know, I'll just let you run this, but I don't know how you wanna,
Okay.
if you wanna make some statements about what your priorities are. Or organize them in order. I did do so, I don't know if you guys checked out your webpage, but I put a picture up there, and if you want to put like information on your webpage from your priorities.
Yes, but go ahead, Casey.
One thing that was something that I had pointed out that I don't see on here was the dealing with the schools. We did talk to Lieutenant Mendoza about trying to staff an officer at each of the schools, and I know he was going to work on that, but to me, school safety needs to be on that list. And we also talked about lighting there in front of the high school because of all the
Oh, that's
events.
right
It
on the
was
football
inadequate.
field side.
Yeah, I mean, just, we have so many kids and parents crossing that area. So I don't see either of those on
We can
that.
definitely add
thing,
those,
but-
sure.
Um, yeah, 6 in front of the high school there. I think Jim had said something about maybe adding lighting on top of that cafe there. At the stadium or something. I don't
Right.
know where we could put the
Like
lighting. but it's
facing the
just-
crosswalk.
Yeah.
Facing the
Yeah,
school.
we just, and there's actually two crosswalks there. One's on the next street over to the east. Is that Pierce? So there's a crosswalk there and maybe adding a street light there as well, because they're during football nights, I noticed that they use both of those crosswalks. So
So what are you writing? Sorry, I can't see. It's okay. We'll take a picture afterwards.
High school lighting, at the stadium.
yeah,
Okay.
And I did, I got a little message back from Lieutenant Mendoza, and I checked with the school about, that, if this is a good time to share that information.
Yeah, the school. safety
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
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 So I reached out to a couple of different people, the SRO that is currently there, and I talked with him about like the idea of having a rest area there at the school, potentially to have more more deputies in and out of the schools and such. And he brought up an interesting point, which is that wherever the police go, sometimes there's people that you wouldn't necessarily want around the schools because they know the police are there. Like they come here looking for the police instead of calling 911 or the non-emergency number. They'll just come here looking for police. And sometimes they're not, it would be, you'd be totally fine with them walking on campus. And other times these are not necessarily people you'd want walking on the school campus looking for police. So, but the police kind of attract people that might be looking to get help or whatever, trying to find them. So that may or may not be an idea that we want to push forward as far as having a rest stop at the school. But I let him know that this committee would be really supportive if they wanted to expand their SRO services. And Superintendent Carpenter said that at this point, they're pleased and believe they have just the right scope of service, but it's subject to change in the future if the growth continues. And they'd be happy, him or the SRO could come in, and probably Lieutenant Mendoza could even talk about, if you want to have them come and speak as a guest speaker, we could invite Lieutenant Mendoza could talk about it, or we could have Superintendent Carpenter come too. And then, it was here. So Lieutenant Mendoza didn't get a hold of me today, but he texted me just before the meeting. And he said this, so this is in response to the question about a retired deputies working in the schools. And he can expand, he'll be at your next meeting. And so he can expand more on this too and kind of bounce ideas off with you. But basically the school at this point isn't looking to expand their SRO service. And he spoke with, Mendoza said he spoke with several retired deputies about working in the schools. Most were not interested, but there were a few that said it's something they would consider, or perhaps that they thought, well, so I know so-and-so who's retired, they might consider that. And the going rate for that type of work seemed to be about $40 an hour plus some benefits. So it's still not necessarily inexpensive to fund, but he can report on that more next time too when he is here. But just thought I would share that because we don't really have we don't have jurisdiction in the schools, but I did want them to know that this committee is super supportive if they wanted to look at ways to expand that. So that's where we are.
So in the spirit of this town planning ahead for the next deputy or something like that, they're going to need at least one new elementary school. And so in that same spirit of planning ahead, how long does it take to add a school resource officer? I have no idea how that
I think the
works.
lieutenant last time said it took a year, didn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or
it'll probably take a
longer
year.
to get one.
I just had a comment. It seems to me that it is unfortunately out of our jurisdiction, which is really frustrating. I know from our side, we kind of depend on the school to make this decision. Am I right?
Mhm,
So
yeah.
we can't do anything until the school says, yes, we're willing to do something. Which can be, it's kind of frustrating on my end, but, so until then, what is there, there's nothing we can do, is there? I mean,
No, I think
is
just
that what
let,
you're saying?
yeah, letting them know that you're supportive. If they're like, if they need to move some budget around to fund something like this, and they're looking for supporters, that this committee would be the committee to go to and
Well,
would be supportive of that.
wasn't Mendoza's recommendation to have, it wouldn't cost anything for the school just to have an office in each school for the officers to be at? Wasn't that a recommendation that would be like a compromise? They weren't even open to that. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. That would be a good question to ask them specifically, but when
Okay.
I was just kind of just throwing that idea out. That's like when I said there was sometimes it attracts people that you wouldn't want going to the schools
Mm.
if you have places where
I've-
they congregate.
Go ahead.
I'm
Casey.
sorry. I just find it hard to believe that that in this day and age, you know, that you wouldn't want an officer in these schools because of response time. You have one officer, from what I understand, covering 4 schools. And like I said, I was an officer for 31 years, so I understand how this works. And if something's going down, if I want to do something, I'm going to know where that one officer is. And he's gonna, I just can't understand why you wouldn't want that. I was wondering if maybe, is it a money issue for the school that they don't want it? Or could someone from the school come and explain why they don't want that? I'm just
Yeah,
curious to hear the reasoning behind saying no, it's adequate, because it's not. I mean, it's not.
yeah, that would be a school board question
Okay.
probably. And we could have, I could see if, Superintendent
I
Carpenter.
mean, the most
come and
important thing in
talk.
this town is your kids. I mean,
Mhm.
in every town, that's where it's at. And that's
Mhm.
where the crazies go. And you got some off-duty officers now that are saying that they're willing to at least look at it. So everything's in place. Let's, I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that
Yeah,
one.
I'll save my comment for Casey, but I'll.
I
go
was
ahead, Katie.
just curious about, you were saying that it would attract people that you wouldn't want on a campus, but is this something that has to be public knowledge, that there is like a stop for them?
It wouldn't necessarily need to be public knowledge, but it gets out. I mean, it would get, I'm sure it would get out, but that we could have them come and talk, because I know there's a lot of other things that they've done with their, engineering their systems too, with their lockdown vegetables and things like that, where everything locks down with the push of a button. And sometimes they talk about these things, sometimes they don't. Sometimes people, they don't want to talk about it because it's distressing. So, but I know that there's other things they have in place as well, other than having multiple deputies. But I'm sure it is a money issue. They need teachers, and they do invest in an SRO who isn't just like a campus monitor. He works cases, he's out, doing investigations or following up with students and their families. And, he's like an active deputy in the school system.
And working the
Yeah.
after-school function. So he's
Yeah.
stretched way too thin,
Yeah.
way too thin.
He does a
mean,
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me see if I could get somebody to come and talk about that, but realizing that it is outside of our jurisdiction. And so that would be something that you would probably take up with a committee, that if the school pulls up a committee, a safety committee or something, that would be the place to go with that. And then we could focus on the other priorities that you might have, but it's important.
Brandy?
I just had a suggestion. Casey, maybe you could go to the school board meeting and talk to Ryan Carpenter yourself, because you have a lot of insight with this, and you might be able to speak to him on a level that he
Yeah.
might hear.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, just thought.
Sure.
And I'll try to get him.
And take Lieutenant Mendoza because,
Yeah.
I mean,
There you go.
you know,
I'll try to schedule in,
guns.
try to get him scheduled in here to come and talk also, because if you go to school board meeting, you have just your few minutes of public comment.
mhm.
And so if we could have a discussion with them. here, it would be.
So, thank you.
It might be helpful.
Just to put a couple more things up here, Melanie, because I
Mhm.
know it's getting on here in time. Can we, as a committee, since the library, Parks and Rec, and the Arts Commission has a Facebook page maintained by the city, we would like our own Facebook page. So the city can share something. If we have an event, you wouldn't necessarily have to do it on the city of Estacada /government. And we would also like the photos of the Main Street demonstration and the videos put on the city of Estacada under our section, if we could do that on what we're working on Main Street. Because I mean, I think people are reading, I can't believe, and bleeping cones, and I see all these things, they don't know what's going on. But if they had a place to read it or see the photos that were going everywhere, I think people would be, okay, they're doing what we want them to do.
Mhm.
Everybody okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay,
But,
okay. Okay, and on the research traffic calming techniques, I was thinking about maybe setting up something where the people can come to the committee here or you with a sheet of paper about people speeding or people are doing whatever in their neighborhoods. They're peeling out. I mean, I see it up in Reagan Hill on the backside and just, kids. I mean, I get it. I was 17 once, but just at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, no. Because that's when we're all sleeping. But to have studies done like other cities, they actually have something in place on the city website that they can actually request a traffic safety request or a traffic control request and then submit it to the city. And then I'll send all this to Melanie and then she could send this to everybody. And it just goes through like neighborhoods getting together and deciding, and then they would eventually all sign it and then bring it to the city, and then it would go to the safety director or public works, and then it would come to our committee last. So I don't know if anyone's okay with that.
I like that idea.
Say it was everybody would all get on here and sign in the one neighborhood where people are going 50. And they would all sign it and they'd have proof. And then they would give their input on, what's going on in their neighborhood. So it was specific. It wasn't just people that were mad, but they'd actually have something to go on.
You see those?
Yeah.
That other one too?
Mhm.
So that if there's a neighborhood or an area, there's, if you want to list out, like this area, and this area, over the next couple of months, we can get gather data.
Right.
Sometimes it feels like people are going really fast, but then, and you put up you gather data, it's like, oh, the average speed here is actually 27.
Right.
Or it's, not. It's
Well,
way
and
higher.
to take Lieutenant Mendoza's recommendation, if we have areas that are not an issue, we can eliminate those and show people full transparency on the website. This is what we did from this time to that time on 3 different days in a row. Everybody's driving the speed limit, or everyone's driving 30 miles over the speed limit. So we can actually say, this is what the city's doing to making sure your neighborhood's safe.
Or just put out a form for traffic.
Right. Traffic safety or traffic control device. And I don't know what the city wants to do. You said that we have 2 that get put up all around town.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't,
So you figure out how to-
right. Hopefully there's some type of software for that.
Mhm.
Reports, on your webpage. The data.
Right. Collection of data for the neighborhood study. Brandy.
Can
to
we,
add.
can we add, I don't know if anybody else has this thought, but because of everything that I've seen in town, can we like encourage the city in some way to encourage neighborhood watch programs? Yeah, that would be kind of cool, I think.
I mean,
We literally have an HOA and they were, to this day, they have not let us put up our signs that we have a neighborhood watch group. Yeah, they've been just,
That's getting transferred back to the homeowners soon?
we have a transitional committee set up, that some of the neighbors are a part of, and from my understanding, until the last house has been sold, but it looks like, are you aware of the last street that's still supposed to get developed? Somebody was from hearsay, I've heard that people said the city hasn't approved that yet, and so Polish is still hoping to do it, and because it's not in the works, we can't even take the HOA over, and they're not being very transparent with their accounting, and so people are starting to get a little upset because they keep increasing fees, but we never get actual expenses incurred. All they ever give us is a budget, and then the renewed budget, but then we never actually find out about.
I don't know, does the city have a company? But,
But in regards to the rest of the development, it's literally, I think there's still, yeah, I think there's currently 2 that are being constructed all the way up against the hill. But then there's that street that doesn't, I think it's Broadway. Isn't that supposed to connect to the top of the hill?
That's Hillway.
Well, we have Hillway on one side, but then there's like Broadway and it ends, but it kind of, so it is not supposed to one day break through? Because that's what my understanding was.
No, not like to go up to Cemetery Road?
I believe so. Okay.
Is that,
At least not in that eyes.
is it
Okay.
a public street that they're telling you you can't put signs on, or is it your private property?
I think we're trying to have it put into the, like,
It's
when you
what?
drive into it, we would like it to be displayed like into the entrances.
So that's a
because
public street, right? that be a
Liberty
public
and
street?
Hill.
I can't go down the HOA path now because it's.
I'm just saying, I think that's illegal.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I don't know. I don't know what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I need to maybe just go in and read the rules and then maybe go ahead and contact.
But yeah, so, are there? What do you want to do?
Well, I just have a couple more things. Sorry, keep you up there. When we were talking about the city, I'm sorry, the school district. I want in the future to be able to, collaborate with the school district, for educational traffic safety and have some events at the school in the future.
Mm.
So I hope it's not, gonna be something that's gonna be a battle, but I want it something that when I was in high school, before every prom, they would put a DUI car right out on the baseball field. And if you drink and drive, because
Yeah.
this is what everyone's gonna do at prom,
That's, yeah.
they put it right out and we're all like, whoa, what is that, a car?
So like
Neighborhood safety.
neighborhood watch group.
Yeah. Neighborhood watch,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, neighborhood.
and then. I think you had an idea about-
Yeah, you mean about the school?
Mhm.
Yeah, I was, so there's an organization called Impact Oregon, and they do have that DUI car. It's like inside, it's like a display that they bring. When I went to Clackamas Community College, they had it on their campus for a while. And so I was wondering, I'd like to reach out to them, but then I wasn't sure if there was a specific etiquette or if you were supposed to be the person that reaches out. I wasn't sure if, because it sounds like a lot of work if it's all on you. So I could go ahead and reach out. I just wanted to make sure I was following the proper channels.
You're reaching out as a entity of the city of Estacada,
Okay, and
traffic and public safety.
just through my personal email account would be okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think that- if
Yeah.
everybody's,
Yeah.
That's a good
wanna
idea.
get that- Get together the details and. then
Yeah.
the-
Move on
I
from
could,
there.
yeah, I could bring to the next meeting.
That'd be
No,
great.
it'd be-
Okay.
Awesome. And also, I put down just having children's safety programs and special events. Are we gonna have some type of budget at all? Because I know on the What's Up Ask Cicada, I wanted to put down that we want to attend, but we don't have anything to hand out.
Yeah.
I know we're a brand new committee and we don't have anything, that we can hand out bragging about the city of Estacada and what we do. That's all.
Flyer, neighborhood watch, brochures maybe coming out. And yeah, so in April, the committee needs to present to the council your goals for the year. So
Okay.
you need to kind of I still feel like we're like just everything in the world is on the table so far. So if you guys narrow down what you want to do in the next year, develop a work plan, do you want to do an event, do you want to do a walk and roll to school day, helping kids learn safety and walking, you want to do the Oregon Impact Oregon. Do you want to do national night out? So pick what you guys really want to do.
Okay.
Or do you want to just continue to, you don't have to do a bunch of events, you could do, continue to make recommendations or, whatever, all this stuff, and things you see to the eyes and ears in the neighborhood.
Right.
But you could also request the budget. Or
Okay.
if you want to put together a brochure, if you want to, come into the WhatsApp and have a safety brochure about whatever.
We just want to get the word out, not just people here, but people at city events when we have something. That's all.
You'll have your, January 24th is the class report.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We have it in January, February,
Okay.
March. All of the committees will be going and presenting what they'd like to accomplish this year. And also, we'll probably talk to you about budget requests. We'll be working on budget prior to that.
Okay.
And so then you can say this is why we, this.
Go ahead.
So while we're all here, since we only have so few meetings, could we quickly decide maybe on like the top three? Because I feel
Absolutely.
like otherwise we're gonna waste so
We
much
can do that.
time and I feel like we need to get.
Okay,
Top
John?
three.
So it ties into that. It's, the TSP, the Transportation System Plan.
Mhm.
I can't help but,
Mhm.
conflate the two together, our committee and that. So could you clarify for me would we make recommendations for the TSP? And if so, and I'm going back to not wanting to miss the boat with the developers
Mhm.
because, and just what I'm thinking is, wouldn't it be great if you could have a nice, safe way to walk from this end of town to that end of town on a bike path that went through whatever, but land that the developers would have set aside, or a greenway with a pathway through it, whatever, something like that. But like you said, once they start digging, you're done. And so I don't want to miss that boat. And I don't know if it buttons up under our vest or if it's something else, but if we could clarify that, that would be great.
Yeah, good question.
I guess we can, I don't necessarily know when the meetings are. I guess I'll have to look more for the,
When the next meetings are coming up. Because I know they finished up the survey this fall.
Mhm.
And they'll be coming out with something else together. And more feedback. On a side note, the Parks and Rec was also interested in creating some kind of a trail system from north to south. And so of all the things to do, to add another thing to the list for all of you busy people, we were thinking about, staff was thinking about having like a Saturday morning, kind of a brunch, continental breakfast thing where all the city committees could come together, talk about what, everybody get a little, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, probably 10 minutes, but not that many of you, to talk about some of your high priorities for the year.
Mhm.
And then just kind of do some networking and see if there's some overlap on things that you guys could work together on. So I don't know if you'd be interested in doing something like that.
I would be. I think that would be
When-
great.
Absolutely.
when would you do this? Okay,
right? You know,
I like
look
that
over
idea.
the- point out if the next meeting too. But we just thought, because the Arts Commission had asked about that, I think it's Arts. They just feel like there's these big things they'd like to do, but there's not enough of them to get it done. And so
Mhm.
if you guys can collaborate. and take the pieces of it,
Okay.
Can
Go ahead,
I,
Casey.
can I suggest that the evacuation planning be taken off that? Because isn't that going to be something that Brandy, you and I will be talking about on that other committee?
Yeah, I believe
So we don't need to have that even on here. I mean, let's
You
just
wanna-
narrow that list down and take that off.
Well, yeah, because it'll be what we're doing with that other meeting, but would it still be on our priorities?
I think emergency preparedness, would that be something that we would?
But it wouldn't have to be our top three because we're already taking care of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
is just
that makes
narrow,
sense.
because you're gonna have a committee that definitely gonna be, that's gonna be one of the things we deal with for sure
Yeah.
in that other committee. So
Yeah.
we can focus, we can replace that with something else in this committee.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to thin that list down. 'cause
Yeah, that
it's
makes sense.
Quite large. But
maybe,
All our social media pages with that we're kind of for right now, but if there's something we could drop off, in fact, there probably is a Facebook page that's not being used. Right now that we could drop off and we could add on, you guys, would that be? I mean, that's just coming to you right now, it's just as a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, school zone crossings. Priority roads for improvement.
I think the school zone crossings could easily be number one. I
That's
mean,
Yeah.
good.
yeah.
School zone crossings, one.
Mhm.
and then like, our priority is to the Main Street stuff and traffic stuff. Wouldn't that be like number two?
Yeah, identify priority roads for improvements.
Yeah,
That'd be Main Street and the
Yeah.
intersections.
Mhm.
Um,
I just kind of put under here.
that's good.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't have to watch the videos because I actually watched the people during that ice storm.
Oh,
And-
jeez.
Yeah, I was laughing, but I also forgot that the neighbor was there and all those cars went up and over right in their driveway. Right, it smashed right into
I
their
was talking
cars.
about putting guardrails down there at the end of that street
Mhm.
for that reason.
It was,
And then it
trucks
happened.
and Station
Yeah,
wagons.
down there
were
at Sun
just-
Cemetery,
sliding down
Rockwell
there.
and Cemetery and that other street coming up.
There was a truck that went over that.
Mhm.
Right.
Like at the bottom of Haven Road, are you guys familiar with that? You go across the village, so you can go off there.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't have a.
Right there. Mhm.
Hard.
They don't have that there, because they kind of just let people go up and then they go up instead of having them have a halt stop into it.
Right.
So I was kind of looking at that as for the.
But the one on Cemetery is an actual drop into a bunch of trees that are very large. So I mean, that's gonna be an injury. It's different up there on Hayden, I think.
Because they're just.
Yeah,
You hit hard on Hayden anywhere,
yeah.
Mhm.
bounce
Yeah.
off the guardrail or the ditch.
Where.
Sure.
Coming down Forest Street.
It was pretty scary. And it was only a couple of days ago that they were there with the tow truck towing the vehicles out of the, I mean, I'd be pushing them out on the street, be honest with you, if that was my house.
Okay, so yeah, recommendations for PSP, ADA access and safety around town, encourage neighborhood watch. Research traffic calming techniques, that's gonna put together that.
Mhm.
Valley has,
Mhm.
Now, sometimes people come up with interesting ideas, so you might not be able to get it.
Right.
Like you said, if you have data, how to say that, then to, put up a sign and say, hey, this situation going on here. You can make a recommendation. Events, you wanna do that? Highlight an event or just say events to promote public safety.
So I do have a question about that. If we don't have jurisdiction with the school.
Yeah.
Is this something that the school would then try to organize, or would they even want us to bring this into them? Because at the same time, I wouldn't want to waste my time if they're not even
Yep.
interested in working with us. Mhm.
On multiple different years. So I don't know.
We just need a school board rep to come here so we
Yeah.
can lay out these, a lot of our safety stuff revolves or is directed towards their school. And we need to see what we can do and what we can't do.
If they're willing to even work with
Yeah.
us or not. Yeah.
Mhm.
Ben would probably be a good person. Ben might be a good person to bounce that question
Oh.
off of.
On the
Ben Wheeler.
School board.
He's on the school board and on the planning commission.
There you go.
I have just a comment. Wouldn't research traffic calming techniques kind of fall under the priority roads for improvement? Because we're researching their techniques and we'll know what roads
Okay.
need to be improved. Don't those all kind of go together?
And then further ask Lieutenant Mendoza to have his specialty units come out and
Yeah, I mean. that
ticket
kind of all
everybody on
goes-
motorcycles. Oh, what was that?
Mhm.
Oh,
I
man,
even,
just for a couple of days.
Yeah.
That'd be
Welcome to
so great.
SCADA. Right.
I just thought those kind of went together.
We'll take an off holiday. Go ahead, Katie.
I do wonder if, so if we're trying to find out, it says,
You're okay. Oh, I-
priority roads for improvements or identify priority roads. for improvements. I was just wondering, you know how sometimes when you get your utility bill, how they will include like a message or something? And I just thought that, to reach everybody in town, we could send out a message saying, hey, are there any roads in your neighborhood that need improvements? Please let us know, you know, and then that way, because I think the message even shows up. I need to opt out of the getting the bills in the mail, but even when I do log in, it still shows like the special message. And so maybe
That's a
this
good
would be a way to reach most people in town. Because otherwise, I think Facebook is just not, it only reaches whoever wants to be on Facebook.
I like that idea.
That's a good idea. Right. Right.
We
Yeah.
do have the newsletter that goes out. Where we could do a little more than that from you guys.
Okay.
Or we could just put, sometimes you can just, if there's not another message. You could put it right on. and you can go.
Mhm.
So that would be send a
I like that.
message about traffic concerns.
Mhm.
in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, traffic concerns or road conditions, maybe.
Oh, yeah, pothole.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a friend who's on Eagle Creek and each time I've talked to them about it, they say that their house is right off of where you get this hump past Hypel and they see people, I'm sorry, they say people just come flying down through that area and it's really not safe. And so this would be a way for them to voice that because I don't think I'm gonna be the person that's like, oh yeah, let me take it to, you know, my meeting and we're gonna be out there putting up, you know, signs for people to slow down.
It's hurtful.
Okay. So what do we want to be our third priority?
Go ahead, John.
I get that email. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the frequency, but how many people get that?
The Estacada one?
Yeah.
I think I just got that one recently. It was like, what's up Estacada or something?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I didn't get that.
Good question. Sign up for that.
Right.
But, you know, which is the general, and then they also have a newsletter that goes out from the downtown commission and they'll talk about things going on.
Yes, that's right. I got that.
what it is?
That's the one I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get,
What's happening in Estacada or something like
Right.
that. Mhm.
What's the distribution on that? Do we know?
I can say I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I know I've signed up for it, but I haven't gotten it.
Can't be too hard. I did it.
I don't, they have, I can find out how many people. I don't think they-
On Thursday, there was one that came out from What's Up Estacada
I
for
got that one.
February, like what's up?
Was that the one inviting us to be a part of the What's Up Estacada?
Yeah.
I got that one.
So that one might have just gone to all of our communities.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
from,
Okay,
her name starts with an M.
Mara.
Yeah,
That was probably just for the committee, so we have to do it. We do have newsletters to go out, we do newsletters that go out.
Yeah, events and info from downtown Estacada. And it looks like, it says downtown Estacada, there's like downtown happenings. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to.
Well, it's like everyone's talking about Facebook. I got off Facebook, I think in 2011. And actually even my kids are off nowadays. So,
Or Instagram or
none of
something
it,
else.
maybe an email.
none of
Yeah.
it. But I do get the emails, the stuff we get on utility bill. I mean, that's great. And we'll actually hand that around the house, kind of thing. So,
Good.
Just looking for ways to reach out, just like you're talking about.
Mhm.
We gotta figure out a third priority.
Yeah. Which one do you guys want to put as third?
I would vote ADA, but
Do you want the ADA access and safety or neighborhood watch or TSP recommendations, or what do you think?
they all sound good to me.
I know.
They all
So you want to
sound
do
good.
number 3, ADA access and safety
Yeah, I think so.
and pedestrian safety?
Maybe make 4 TSP, just so we have that on there.
Yep.
'cause that's pretty important too, I think.
Maybe we could do a subcommittee or something like that on the TSP.
Mhm.
An idea.
That would be good. Yeah, and also, and this is for the future. we don't have to do anything tonight, but I know just doing some research, there's a Clackamas County Safety Commission and an Oregon Traffic Safety Commission and developing state highway safety programs. So I mean, there's things at every level, Clackamas, the state, so.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's just love the emails, and if they come out, then we're. Guys, and or if they need somebody to be on the site.
Right. Awesome. All right, I think we're at the end here. That was, okay, committee reports and comments. We don't have any of those. Does anyone have anything else at all? Counselor, anything? Words of wisdom?
You guys are doing a good job. I don't know that I'll have an opportunity to really communicate a summary because you guys are gonna be there.
Yeah, no.
Summarizing a lot, at least the recommendations, and I'll try to capture whatever you guys don't cover with my notes.
Okay,
Keep everyone up to date.
Appreciate
Appreciate you
that.
guys taking the time to do that and give us the feedback. I'm excited to hear how that's received at the city council meeting. I definitely hear what you're saying.
Mm.
And I heard what happened at the last council meeting. So excited to see some of the
Absolutely.
things that you guys are recommending come to fruition at the city council.
and we have more yellow suit activities
I
planned.
can suit everybody up.
Yeah.
Nobody will
that.
run over you.
So.
Sorry for missing the last meeting.
Oh, no, it's understandable. Now the holidays are over, right? And football.
Almost.
All right. If anyone doesn't have anything else, make a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Good work. Yeah. Little ones waiting on you.